Good evening, everybody. Today we're going to be discussing about how we can do two things. The first thing we're going to do is that we're going to build a centralized database for all our college contact information for our management system. So we're going to allow our colleges to come to one central repository through our API and be able to search for contact information, whether it's faculty, staff, members within a given university. But one of the challenges that we have to introduce as part of the solution is that I want to be able to design and implement a centralized database system, like I mentioned, a solution to securely store and manage all contact information for college users, enabling seamless data integration by API. So we have an API already built. We do have a secure FTP built. Since this is focusing on AI search here, this is the goal here. I just focus on AI search. So we have already kind of built these out already. They said the solution will support automated processing, and we're going to be storing our data into our SQL database. So this is the piece that we have to build as. We're going to build a brand new SQL database, and we're going to integrate the AI-powered search using Chat GPT. Initially, we are going to be building out to support just simple search. Then after we get past that, we'll show you how you can convert that into an AI-powered search capability with natural language using Chat GPT. So we can get going. The I mean, I've made this available in the chat. The READMEs here is available. So if I just walk through this quickly before we get going, we have the college administrator who's going to be uploading CFTP. That college administrator is going to be myself. So I'm going to be uploading files into a storage account, and it goes all the way through to the service bus, and it ends up in our SQL database. Then we're going to be able to query the data with a simple query as well as the AI search. So that's the part that we're going to be focusing on today. And this is the architecture diagram just for your information that this is the user pushing the files in. A lot of this stuff is already pre-built. The only part that we need to build from scratch is the SQL database, and then we can hook everything up from there. So we can get going and we can get started. I'm going to be building all my tools in Azure, by the way. So I'm not going to go through what Azure is. It's step by step. Basically, it's one of the cloud offerings. So you have GCP, you have Azure, you have AWS, OpenShift. This is Azure's flavor. I already built out the resource group, which is basically what we're using for our sample today. And if you notice, the resource group already has some prerequisites in there. We have, if you're familiar with Azure, we have a function app, which is going to be handling most of the data movements. And then we have things like Event Grid, which is going to be handling on the alerting. Log Analyst Workspace, which is going to be handling some of the logs, which are going to be captured through the process of us looking at those APIs. And then we have a storage account here, which is actually going to be handling most of the storage information that we're going to be putting into our backend system. A good example is deploying the function app binary files into a location that ends up in the storage account. And then we have the service bus, which is going to be handling all our messaging to move things into a SQL database. And then we have application insights, which handles most of the real-time analytics. We can showcase that as we're moving that data. And we have our container instance, which handles all the secure FTP jobs that we're going to be pushing in from our external clients. And ODIC represents the identity that allows us to authenticate through GitHub repository, which we're not covering today. And the rest are just basically things that we don't have to really talk through in this sense. So what we're going to add in here, we're going to add in a new version of SQL. So if I go to the marketplace and type in Azure SQL, and then we choose Azure SQL, the first one, and we're going to choose this one. And you get three options when we get to the actual wizard as we create it. So this is basically the one that is lift and shift, meaning bringing or you bring your own operating system, you bring your own database, but Microsoft provisions the Windows service in Azure and puts the right SQL version that you need, and you just bring your backup your database, and it supports RDP. This one does not support RDP, but you can bring your database. This one also you can bring your database, but Microsoft owns everything. They own the networking, the replication, the retention, the backups, everything. So this is the one we're going to be provisioning because it's easier and it's quicker to get us going. I'm going to run through this since we're not, this is not a demo. We're going to create a database. Oops, get this out of the way. We're going to create a database name, and we're going to be using the training site. So we're going to do training 2025 or 820 at the time of this recording. And then the server we're going to be using is going to be, we're going to have to create a new server. So we're going to create a new server here and create a database. We're going to point that to ECUS2, which is over here. And then we're going to create a SQL database. We're not using the intro for now because that's not set up. We're going to just focus on using the username and password. We're going to go with SQL admin. We're going to create our passwords and we'll keep it moving. You're okay. And then here we're going to have to configure the database size that we want, which is what we're about to do. So we're going to configure our database. For our demo purposes, we're going to hit the drop down. We're going to go straight to the standard budget friendly. I recommend going this route. If you're new to Azure, it's cheaper. You can see it's $14 a month, but we're going to need at least 400 units for all the ETL work we're going to be doing today. Go moving a lot of records. And then we're going to keep the geo redundant backup, because I mentioned, and we're going to make sure that this has no access. We're going to set this all up, and we're going to go and review and create. So while this is getting set up here, it just take a couple of minutes to get set up. We're going to look at what we're going to be doing in Postman today, right? So when we look at Postman, what we're going to be doing today, we're going to do a simple search. So simple search basically is if you use SQL before, simple search allows you to select top 100 from this kind of hit search now. Obviously, we don't have a database, so the database doesn't exist. It's complaining there's no connection string initialized, and it's correct because we don't have a database set up. So the idea is I want to set a database up. I want to be able to come in and do simple search, or we can do parameterized search where we're passing in the city and then the company which we're looking for. But we're going to go with a simple search to start out, which and then we should give us back a typical JSON file. Now, obviously, I would recommend using this in embedded SQL. Always recommend using key value pairs of some sort through some kind of dictionary. But that's the way it's going to go. So, and the whole idea is that we want to be able to convert, go from a simple search, which I guess our data is back in, and then we want to go into a way where we can actually use AI to introduce that. So we go back to our documentation here real quick while that's getting built out. It's going to be done in a couple of minutes. We'll just walk through what we're going to be doing here. So the idea is that the whole point of building this database is that a user comes in, we have a secure FTP piece, which we're going to be using to send data to our backend system. We've chosen to use FileZilla, and these are all the sample files we're going to be using today. So what we can do while we want to look at it, we can inspect one of the sample files that we're going to be using for our demo today, and then we can go over the actual script that we're going to be using to put it into our SQL database that we're going to be using to store our data today. So the one of the parameters when you're doing simple ingestion, if you're new to doing data ingestion, is that you always try to match the schema representation to what the CSV file is coming in. So that way you don't have to do any too much transformation. Every time you do a layer of transformation, that introduces an additional layer of processing time that's introduced. So I always recommend get your CSV files to be as close as the files that are getting put into your environment. Or what you can do, which what other people do, is that they put it into a staging table, which is basically something you can do as well. So let me see if I can open this file for you. Show more here. And then we're going to open up in Notepad++. So we can see the sample size file we're just passing in. So remember, this is basically a simple file here for a college database. Give me a second, it just loaded. All right, just load it up. Let me make sure the view has no wrap. All right, so if we go all the way to the top, as you can see, we have roughly about 10,000, just over 10,000 records, 10,100, just slightly over 10, just over 10,070 records. So that's basically how many records we have in a database. We go to the top, look at the header, we'll just get the city, state, address, zip code, website, contacts, title, direct phone, and email address. So what we're going to do is build something else similar to this. I'm going to build out a script once the database is finished installing. I already have the code downloaded here. This code is also available for you through the GitHub repository, which is in the README file as well. We're going to be actually executing the script. So basically, we're just creating these tables. Same thing here. all the way up to the industry code where we have the direct numbers, we have the email address and the sales and employees. And if you match that up to the CSV file, this is basically what we're going to be building out. And the goal is that once we've done that piece, you should just directly be able to upload this file and you should be able to push that out into our SQL database. So there's a little bit of magic here, but like I said, it should be able to push the files out as simple as possible. And you can use this with any other schema. You just have to make sure your schema matches your CSV file in which you're trying to pull up to your backend system. So let's go back and see how far we're going with the deployments. Hopefully the database should be all built out. That's already done. So now we're going to do step one. Step one is to update, and step one is to put some sample data into our backend system, test it through our API. But the first thing we're going to do is make sure we have our firewalls turned on. Because remember I said no access. So we're going to select that. We're going to add our IP address, which is what we have here. Let's cancel that. And we're also going to include the function app so it has access to our database. Remember, this is a brand new database you just create, so we have to allow people to have access to it. So we can get from that one. That's completed. And then we can go into our query just to validate that we can actually get in and authenticate. Log in. Then what I can do is I can grab that script that we talked about earlier, and I'm going to execute that on the server so we can create a schema. Right now, if I update this and I open my tables up, my tables is empty. There's nothing in there. So if I paste this now and run this query, this is like Management Studio, but lightweight version. I refresh. We should have tables with columns in here. We have a table here with columns. You should be able to just do a select top 1000. Obviously, there's nothing, no rows are coming back because we have nothing yet. There's no rows that have been added into database. We have to set up the connection string as well. So we have to go and get a connection string for the system. So we can actually pull that. So we can close, well, this one here because we don't need this anymore. And then we can go back into our resource group. We're going to grab the connection string for the database itself, right? And then that connection string is what we're going to hook up into our function app. So our function app can communicate with a database. So I'm going to grab the connection string, grab that. Uh, and what I'm just putting the credentials in. Then I'm going to go to our function app here. Sorry, function app over here instead of our project. And then we're going to go back to our resource group. And we're going to open up our function app here. This is the driver for all our movement of all our data. This is the key guy that's doing it. And the function app, just to highlight that quickly, just talk over it. We have an HTTP trigger, which we're going to be using right now. We have a file transfer, a file checker, which actually is a hybrid trigger. So there's a lot of options that you have. These are different types of triggers that are supported by our function app. We have a event trigger, which is going to be listening to all our events as files land in our storage account. Message. We have a service bus, which were introduced, which we're going to be using to take messages off the bus and putting it into the SQL database. And then these other triggers here, those represent HTTP triggers. So that's basically how it's set up right there. So I go into my config file. I'm going to just edit it and add in the database connection string. But that's missing from the process. And then once I have that connection string added in, I can then do a sample test to make sure I can upload the file into our database. So a connection string is here. Hit and I hit apply. And what I can do now is I can look at that location we had earlier with our sample files. And I can go to my Postman, which is what we're going to be using for testing today. And the first thing we're going to do is go to our upload directory here. And we're going to cancel this out. We're going to click this, look for a new file. I'm going to go to the location of the new file. And we're going to pick the file here, which is about 2K here. This is the file we're looking at here, which is this one is one we're looking at here, 2K file, which is one we sampled. Open it up. I'm going to try to send that to our backend system. Oops, let me have the wrong. Look, we have the wrong. I just make sure I have the right uh backend. So it's 0820. Which is the API we're using today. Let's try it one more time. All right, so that was successfully supposed to successfully ran. We got a collaboration ID back. We can go into our database. Like I mentioned before, we're going to come out from here. Let's log in. Log in here as well. I'm just opening up multiple windows so we can actually move back and forth between the tabs. So here, what we're just doing here, we're just checking the database to see what our data, the initial sample data that we put into our backend database made it successfully to our database from the API during a simple upload, right? So we're going to go into our database. We're going to check it quickly. Go into Lightweight Management Studio. Log in. And then this table I created earlier, which we did earlier today, I should be able to do select all and see whether we have any data that's coming back. So now we have data coming back. So now we have data coming back here. We can actually say, okay, I want to search for California universities. That's what we're interested in. So we want to search for all California state universities. We just get the top, we want the top 100, and then we say where, and then we can just do a quick test, run that. That came back. So now we're going to take this same query that we just ran here, and we're going to take that and put it into our UI, right? Let me do a search here. Put this query back in here. Run this. And we should have the initialization query. So because we are connected now, we set up the database, guess what? We have JSON coming back. So typically you can actually go in there but you need to know SQL, you need to know a key value pair of some sort. So normally when you're normally asking um, natural language questions, I'm trying to get a sample up. You have something like this over here. So you ask, this is not natural language. This is me knowing SQL, and I have to understand SQL. I will ask a natural language question. So if I'm trying to find out in this response here, I have a question that says, okay, I want to find out project directors, right, in California State University. That's really the question I want to ask here, right? So So does California State University, this is how the question should go, right? Does California State University, and that's in Los Angeles, right? In LA. So I was just asking LA. I won't put any, I was just saying LA. Have any contacts for, and I'm going to be cheeky, I'm going to say project directors. That's what I'm asking. That's my question I'm asking here. And this is how you would normally ask the lateral language question. Does California State University in LA have any contacts with project directors? And the answer is no, they don't have any, right? So we know they're coming back and they say, oh, we don't have any. It came up with an invalid system and a state, it couldn't justify. So how do you convert this into a AI solution? So what we can do is that with the same API, we're not changing the same API, but we have a different rule set. And if I go into my documentation, the rule sets I'm using right now, if I look at my code, I'm using a key which represents that. So we go into my documentation and all this is available for you to see. I have some documentation down here that covers conversations around if you can do it a regular search. So in this case, we're searching SQL database. We're using this. This is 7F. So if I go over here, it says actually this is not the right key. I need to update the keys on this side of the thing, but I'm pretty sure this is 7F. Maybe Yes, it's 7F. The only thing I didn't update the actual documentation properly to represent the key that's here. So this is 7F. So that's one thing I got to update. The second thing is we need to pick up the one for AI search. So this is the AI search piece that said, okay, I need to be able to search using the natural language. So let me pull this one up. This one is 8A. You can click on it as well. I mean, and then you can see the rules that we're using. I'm going to update this to represent um, the search we're looking for. Remember, we haven't changed URL. The URL is still the same. We're just updating the API key they're going to be using to do the search. And then when ask the same question, we ask it, does California State University have in LA have any contacts for project director? So that asks the same question and see whether it comes back with anything. Or it came back with nothing right now. So how does that work? So let's walk through what API search is. So for example, and I'm going to load some more data. And before I do that, let's put some more data into our backend database. We're going to be moving about 1 million records. So I'm going to move them one at a time. So let me clear this out, refresh these, uh, reconnect to my system because obviously I've lost connection. And then I need to update this first, which is going to my uploads, and that's going to take a while to upload some new data into our backend system. We can search for it. So the way natural language works is that we go into our system, we have a template that converts into a natural language. We call our API. And after we call our API, then we call our backend, and then we can pull data back out. So we can walk through that process and how that works. So the first thing we're going to do is going to turn off the um, the API call. So we're going to turn that off. So we're going to walk through one at a time. So this is called a circuit breaker rule, or what we call a workflow, where you can actually disable steps in the process to test the remaining steps in the other process. So we're going to do that right now. A couple of changes here. Turn this off. I'm going to turn things on. We're going to before we make the database call, we'll turn things on one at a time. So I'm going to submit this, and then when you go back into our search, and then you see different behavior. We've got an empty array last time. We're going to see what we're getting back. So it's actually, I'm asking the question, does California State University in LA have any contacts with project manager? Response only are minified, and we want the response to be only minified and come back. So we're giving instructions saying to the system, assist an intelligence chatbot designed to help answer question related to college courses. So we're asking the system to say, okay, this is focuses on college courses. I want you to do your best job to able to extract the data from the search. And I'm saying I'm passing the information into here, and then I'm saying response only with modified JSON in one line, use nulls where applicable, no comments, no rules. I gave it some, and I want to extract the city, state, and cost and contacts and university if possible. That's what I'm asking the AI chatbot to do. That's step one, right? And then step two is I'm actually saying, okay, now I want to get and connect to my chatbot to make a call. So I'm going to label this second step to make that call to our API. And now the chatbot, the sorry, I said the chatbot, the Google Chat GTP has a thing called a chat completion endpoint, which is actually be used to actually record as a natural language processor. That is the natural language processor. It's going to try and extract the data points of what you're passing to and then do the best to actually create a payload that you can pass into your backend system, right? All right. So if I do that now, and I run in search one more time, I should get a different experience. This works. I'm having some sort issues with the search lately. All right, so what it did is it got university, it pulled out university, uh, and then it pulled out it says University in Los Angeles. The city is Los Angeles, and then it's tried to pull the state out, which is California, and then it pulled out the a null value for that. So you can see that you can play with this and say, okay, wait, hold a minute, it's put a lot of information. So if I want to make this clean this up a little bit, because this data as is just the raw data coming back from our backend system, we want to be able to add another layer. So this is me calling Chat GTP. It's telling me it's chat completion. It tells you what choice it made. And it also gives the number of tokens I use. And this is something you have to pay attention to. Tokens are money. So you have to pay attention to tokens. So this is that's a raw response that's coming back from Chat GTP. But we want to extract the content from Chat GTP. We don't care about the whole raw response. So this is where this step comes in, where we're going to just extract the raw content because that's all we care about, right? We just care about the raw content, right? So we're going to do that. So now I made that true. I'm going to go and run the search one more time. And what we should get back is the raw contents from the backend system. Oops, the thing was temporarily unavailable. Sorry. One more time. I get this once in a while. Okay, let's try Los Angeles. Let's see if we can get that back. All right, so I think the reason why the API is failing is because we can go into our backend system here. I'm going to look at database. And initially, what we did is that we had a select statement that had roughly about 10,000 records when I showed the CSV file. I think there's a massive import going on now. So let's do a select count from. So let's do a count star from our database. And then we'll see how many records are being pushed into our system. I think the reason why we're having querying issues is that we're moving 620,000 records are moving to our system. We're moving a significant amount of data into our system. So what's happening is that right now our system is running parallel processing, which I can show you that. We're spinning up a lot of servers right now to handle the amount of data we're moving in. Because I remember we're moving a couple million records into our system. We just let that cool down for a little bit, and then we can go back in and try. Let's try to try and have a search here, see whether we can actually make a call and get a response back. There we go. So what this is doing here is actually giving us a university here. It's giving a contact, it's giving a state, and it's giving the course, and it's giving a contact as product director and the address. Now, the thing about using the natural language process that you have no control of is that you can actually add a schema representation in here, right? In this case, because I'm bringing back a project director as the contact information, I can easily change it up a little bit. And if you don't have, if it constantly brings back the same representation, so if I say that I'm Drexel, so if I say I live in Pennsylvania, so I can do that. So you can get a different experience. So here, Drexel University in PA. Have contacts for product directors. Let's see where we can get anything back. Now it's not going to search your database, but it's going to try to give you a at least something that's close to the contacts they're looking for. So in this case, what I can do, I can make some minor adjustments to my um I I can make minor adjustments to either this to get a different set of data out of this, or what I can do is I can go into my chat GTP and I can make some adjustments here if I needed to make adjustments here. So I say extract city, state, course, contacts, and university. I just want one contact university. And then if I go back into my search, you can actually massage the expression that's coming out from your result set in your backend system. So if I go back to my search API here, I can keep massaging this until I get the results that I'm looking for. One more time. So now I've got contact and is reading the way I want to read, right? So it's reading that information the way I want to read it. So I just made a minor adjustments to my suggestions to my natural language processor. So making a contact. I mean, give me just one contact. And then I have a contact information here. What I can do is that in my database piece here, I have to make sure that I'm just picking up just the contact information and passing that into my backend system where my courses are different. So basically, I'm looking for the title course. I'm looking for the state here. This is the SQL statement I'm actually building from that information I got back. And then if I look at go back to my search here, I'm going to just quickly go back to my search information. You can see that I'm searching for universities, the city, this is the state, this is the course. There's no course listed here, but guess what? We have a contact listed here. And the contact in our code was the title, right? So there's no courses that are coming back, but we have contact information that are coming back because we're asking a question, does Drexel University have any contacts for a project director, right? So basically, I'm asking contacts for project director. So I'm looking for this is a specific ask. So I'm massaging my Chat GTP a little bit to agree with basically what the ask is. And you can actually do that as well. So in this case, I'm just pulling the contact as my title here, make that quick change. And then what I can do here is once I made that quick change, then I can go back into my search AI and I can leave that information here. And then remember I turned this is turned off. I've already made my search call to my back API. I made my API call here, which is turn on. I mean, it then creates the SQL statement here, which this is part extracting the content. And then finally, what I'm going to do is I'm making another call here to actually clean that information up. Then what I'm going to do is call into my database to search for the backend. And then what I'll do is I'll do a search here. And I'm going back to my same search. And now I'm actually reaching out to my database to actually find out whether we have does Duxton University in PA have any contacts with project manager? And what he's done is actually gone in and looked at information that's coming back. Now, obviously, it looked at project manager, but there was a gap here. It says, okay, it didn't look at Drexel University. It looked at Temple University. So when you look at here, it's actually looking at the wrong piece of information to bring back. So now what we can do, which is this is the good cool thing about using our search AI here, is that we can go in and say, okay, what happened? What went wrong? I'm looking at the wrong template. So instead of we calling the database directly, guess what we can do? We can actually turn the database off and find out the statement that was sent to the database. So I'll send this back to the database, send this to the back end, do our search here, do a quick search back here, get our database back. So you can see search from DBO tables where the title is that. The state is PA. The actual city is Columbia, but we don't have a university contact. So what we need to add in based on our query, we need to add in a step in for to capture. We got the city state, want to be able to capture the we also want to be able to capture the not just the city, but want to capture the university that we're going to be focusing on. So this is where we add another section here to capture the company. In that case, that's what we call it in our database. We didn't call it university, we call it company in our database, and that matches university in this other tag, right? So what we can do is we can submit that. And then what we now we're narrowing the search, when we're now narrowing the search parameters down to represent what we're looking for. So we go into our search API again. We want to see if we can narrow these parameters down and see what it builds out the SQL statement according to one. So now you got the company as Drexel University. We can go back into our API and our search API. Now we can actually force it to go into our backend database and then we can extract that piece out and make that true. Save that. Yeah, backend system. And then we're going to hit search one more time. And hopefully you get some real data that's come out that's very specific to the university we care about. So Drexel doesn't have anything in there. So let's see if we see that if Drexel also has anything called, maybe we're still uploading data in real time. We have any directors inside of Drexel University that we can contact. So here we go. That's very accurate now. And we're asking still English-like questions. Does Drexel University in PA have any contacts with directors? And this is important information. You might want to reach out to a director in Drexel. Now you have access to that information now in an area which you care about. So if you're looking at technology, you can easily convert this to technology. And then there's nothing on technology. But if you try Temple, let's try Temple. Remember, this is not a full database here. Just have a fraction of data in there. See what they have anything on Temple. You could try. Nothing on Temple. Let's try something on science. Let's see if you have anything on science. Okay, I'm getting anything on science. So the only thing that has something right now that we have data that's coming in is Drexel. Um, because that data is probably loaded in our system. So let's see whether everything on science and Drexel. There's nothing on science and Drexel. Okay, let's try something on science in technology. I think we tried that before and we got a result set back. Nothing coming back for Drexel. All right, so let's do information. I'm just trying to get something out of the system here. So, and that's one thing you have to do when you have challenges with this. Sometimes the search AI, and this is only catch with the search AI. When you do the search AI, you always have to understand, and this is the part I'll mention to you, always try to build a template that represents the data you're trying to pull in, because this is the only caveat. I'm using a out of the box version. I don't have a schema attached to mine. So that's the reason why I'm getting a different flavor of results that are coming back from our system is not exactly the same as what we're getting coming in. So let me see if I can disable this step to see what exactly is coming back from my system. Let's see whether we can search that one more time. It might be the contacts as the issue. Oh, it's not coming back with anything. So let me do contacts. All right, so I have to search this. I have to send this back in first. And then I'll do a search here and see what we get. So we have data. There's no contacts coming back. There's no courses coming back. So when you do contacts, that flips, and this is how you can discover what it is. So you have to do contacts. So what you can do, you get the courses, which is information. You get a contact, which is no. And if you do contacts, you get the you get the courses that's got information and the contacts, which is empty. So it depends on how you want to do it. So in this case, if courses is available, you can adjust it for courses and then you can bring the courses back. Right now, the courses are available instead of our API search. So in this case, if I wanted to do a quick change, I'm just doing a quick test. And then you can go in and do conditional checks inside of you set off your SQL statements, which you can do instead of here to see if condition you can do some conditional checks in here. Say, okay, if I do get courses, I plug them in here. And if I do get contacts, I plug them in here so I can get the same result set back. So it depends on which one you get that's coming back from your backend system. Then if that works as expected, then you can actually say, okay, now I've got courses, you're gonna do a few more tests in here. So let's see. Let's go back to our search. A quick test here. And this will also bring us back. This is actually just bringing back courses. But if I do technology, let's see what we get. Hit send. It's still bringing courses back as technology. Then what I can do is I can finish it up and just add the last two steps. And hopefully that's the last change we're going to make today. And that's how basically AI search works. You can actually use the natural language processor that's from Chat GPT, and that allows you to actually quickly just search your database, and then you can do conditional checks to validate your schema representation, which is actually something that you should consider doing. So that will force mine is not going to schema attached to the questions, but that's the reason why I'm getting different behavior each time. But now that I've fixed that, I'm calling my backend database. I'm calling Drexel. I'm calling technologies for Drexels. I'm actually getting something in information. Maybe I can get something on the sciences. Where I put science here. Let's see what we get back. Hopefully something comes back for the science. Somebody came back for the science, right? So now I just fixed the problem instantaneously, and now we have something Drexel coming up for the science. So if you look at this contact information here, you look at the science assistant professor, information science and technology, and it's brought that data back for us. All right, so that's all I got to show. I'm hoping you enjoyed watching this video. I just showed you how to use regular search, which is basically what we're talking about, and how to convert your regular search into an AI search feature. Thank you.